2, 1.
When the lights go down low and the wolves begin to howl. From somewhere between the paranormal and the abnormal, you're entering into the Parabnormal.
There's a parallel universe, a veil that separates us from all we perceive. True reality. Open the gate, let the truth be known. It's more than meets the eye. We're not alone. Into the paranormal. Into the paranormal. Into the paranormal. Crossover.
From the Oregon Ghost Conference in Seaside, I'm Jeremy Scott. It's Into the Parabnormal, somewhere between the paranormal and the abnormal. Always look forward to coming back here every year. This is year number 14. Last year was lucky number 13. Next year is number 15, and we appreciate everybody who makes this happen year after year. Our director, Rocky Smith, will join us in just a couple of moments, and we'll have a lot of investigators and experiencers on with us as well. We're here in Seaside, Oregon, which, for those who are not aware, listening in other parts of the country, it is just under a 2-hour drive from Portland, which would be the biggest major city around here, of course, where I broadcast from. And we are gathered here this weekend for our love of the paranormal. Some enjoy ghost activity itself. There are people who enjoy this. Others, not so much. They kind of find it creepy. But still, they're here because they want answers. Others are fascinated by the history of these events, and there's also a crowd that just likes to hear a good ghost story. I'm kind of one of each of those. I'm a part believer, I'm a part skeptic, but I love hearing good ghost stories. So I'm here on the Oregon coast, and it is spring break. People primarily from Oregon and Washington gather here for a respite. And it seems that each town, whether little or large, mostly along the coast here, they're situated along Highway 101. It seems that there is a story of haunted locations, of ghostly activity, and of paranormal happenings in each of these locations up and down the Oregon, and we could say the Washington coast, because you don't have to drive too far to the north. You'll cross over a bridge into Washington. And this whole coastline, in fact, going down south, Highway 101 goes into California. We've got some folks who have migrated from both of those points here to Seaside. And they all have stories along the way of ghosts, of paranormal encounters. Why are places haunted, though? I mean, there's several reasons why. The normal reasons places are haunted, but also there are several historical factors that feed into the paranormal lore around these parts. The haunted reputation of the Oregon coast comes largely from its maritime past. We're talking about shipwrecks, lonely lighthouses, lost towns swallowed by the ocean. The rugged shoreline and storms have created the perfect setting for paranormal folklore. These stories are now deeply woven into the region's culture. All of these elements have created the kind of tragic and mysterious history that fuels ghost legends, as we'll be talking about here tonight. Among those would be the shipwrecks. I mean, the Pacific Northwest coast is often called the graveyard of the Pacific for this very reason, and there are many of those up and down the coast. Also, the lighthouses and the lighthouse keepers and the fishing communities give you a feeling of isolation Often you are living in extreme solitude, and the energy of that lingers. It's also stormy and foggy a lot of the year here on the coast. Dangerous weather has contributed to many maritime disasters. And there are abandoned settlements as well. Coastal erosion and economic changes leaving behind ghost towns, and that brings on a set of activity on its own. Places, though, are considered haunted due to a combination of factors: psychological, environmental, cultural factors, rather than a single clear cause for the most part. Low-frequency sounds known as infrasound can create feelings of dread, while electromagnetic fields may affect the brain and produce sensations of being watched. And in addition, many locations labeled as haunted have histories tied to tragedy or intense events, leading some to believe that emotional energy lingers in a space. And there's always also the power of suggestion, which is significant, because when more people are told that a place is haunted, well, they're more likely to notice unusual details and even interpret them as paranormal activity. Cultural beliefs as well further shape how these experiences are understood. Different societies attribute hauntings to spirits or energy or other phenomena. Overall, the feeling that a place is haunted is often based on other facets and not necessarily clear evidence of the paranormal. Bottom line here, ghosts are not always the reason for every paranormal occurrence. Sometimes imprints of the past are involved. The difference between the two comes down to whether the phenomenon appears interactive or is simply replaying events. What people often call ghost activity usually refers to an intelligent haunting where a presence seems aware of the living. In these cases, witnesses report things like objects that are moving, voices responding to questions, apparitions that appear to react to people. This type of experience suggests that, at least from a paranormal perspective, that something conscious may be present and capable of interaction. While an imprint of the past, often called a residual haunting, is very different. Instead of interaction, it's described as a kind of recording of past events that plays back under certain conditions. People might see the same figure walking the same path, hear repeated footsteps, or witness identical scenes over and over again with no variation. These occurrences don't respond to people and seem completely unaware of their surroundings, like a looped memory which is embedded in the environment. In simpler terms, ghost activity is thought to be responsive and aware, while an imprint of the past is considered non-interactive and repetitive. Both ideas are common in paranormal discussions. And with AI, well, the idea is that we can create artificial ghosts, AI ghosts, or ghost bots that use technology like deep fakes and chat bots to recreate deceased loved ones for conversation and interaction. Well, these digital recreations, holograms if you prefer, can provide comfort and a sense of connection for those grieving. Experts warn that they may also have negative effects on mental health. And the risk of misinformation or harmful responses could be especially damaging to someone in a vulnerable emotional state. Although ghost bots may help people say things left unsaid or feel temporarily closer to someone they've lost, their realism can blur the line between reality and illusion. So when they say that there is an app for that, you really do have to be careful, friends. Live from the Oregon Ghost Conference in Seaside, I'm Jeremy Scott, into the Parabnormal.
Into the Parabnormal.
Oregon Ghost Conference in Seaside. I'm Jeremy Scott, somewhere between the paranormal and the abnormal. We have the director of the Oregon Ghost Conference with us, founder of Northwest Ghost Tours, owner of Haunted Oregon City. He is Rocky Smith. Do you ever go anywhere without the top hat?
Yes, I do. In fact, I did a TV thing the other day. I didn't wear the hat. I got my hair cut for that.
Well, let's see what it looks like.
Okay. It's short, very short.
There we go.
Yeah. The hat is become a trademark for my tours, so I try to wear the hat if I'm doing, any media stuff really, or doing the conference. So I don't know if I'm going to dress up in my full outfit this time around because it gets so warm as I run around, but the hat definitely. I was here last weekend walking around Seaside, and people were like, "Oh, there's Rocky," and saying hi, and I was just like, "Wow, that's cool."
I mean, the other thing people know you for is the
lantern.
The
I
lantern.
don't carry that around all the
That's
time either. No, sometimes I put that down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Seaside, Oregon, much like many of these towns, as I was saying earlier, all up and down the Oregon and the Washington coast and probably the California coast and all points in between, they all have a little paranormal history to them.
Absolutely. Well, I think Oregon, Washington, Northwest in general, but the coast even more so.
And I was talking about some of those factors.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you have lighthouses here.
Right.
You have a lot of people who are isolated.
The Tillamook Lighthouse out off the coast here, Terrible Tilly as it's known, is a really mysterious place and is rumored to be haunted. It has some, incredible history. You have the shipwrecks in the, graveyard of the Pacific. But there's such a Native American history as well, similar to some of the stories that Oregon City has, where this town is built on top of some of those native sites that, still cause some things to happen in this city. So I think, the coast itself and even Seaside and Astoria, have an incredible history equal to, if not more so, than Oregon City.
So what's going on? Is there a combination of both? There are both active ghosts in these locations, but there's also remnants of the past that people are crossing over with?
I think it's both, and I think sometimes we have a hard time knowing which is which. I've had people ask me that question, because I don't think, when we use the word haunted or we use the word ghost, I don't actually necessarily know what that's applying to, right? I sometimes use the word haunted or ghost when it's actually not a spirit of anyone at all. It's just an imprint in time that we feel, and we have a gut feeling about what we think in our head, well, maybe that's a spirit, but no, it probably is an imprint in time because something tragically happened there. Why would someone want to haunt the place that they tragically died as opposed to someone that haunts a place or stays at their house because they lived there for their entire life? I mean, that's two different things.
Right. The power of suggestion, is that big in the paranormal? Because if you say someplace is haunted, I may want to follow you there, and you may say, oh, did you feel that? I may not feel that, but I might not want to tell you that.
Well, in what way?
Well, I mean, if you go into a location thinking that some place is going to be haunted, you
Right.
may perceive things
for sure.
totally different than if you go into a location, you didn't
sure.
know the history, you may experience something and interpret that differently.
For sure. I mean, I think that's true with investigations. We try to not give people a lot of history about the place or the location. We try not to give them a lot of paranormal stories about the location because it's going to create that. If they have an experience in the building, they're going to connect right back to those things. So if we go over history or our past experiences of a building, we usually keep that to the end of the investigation. Also, if people are on a ghost tour, any weird thing that happens that night, people are like, oh my God, what was that? And I'm like, nothing. Right,
Yeah.
Right. But it may not be nothing. Like, for instance, if I'm on a ghost tour and a black cat comes across the path or a branch falls out of a tree, at the same time there's a lightning strike or something, people are like, oh my gosh, what is that? It's like, probably nothing.
Yeah.
But you also think about it because later on, the thing that you experience on a ghost tour that's nothing may repeat in a different night with a different person, and then you're like, okay, something's happening here. And so it's a really delicate kind of experience to kind of think about. So I always keep an open mind on the tours. I try not to, if I'm having a personal experience, I try not to share it because I don't want to lead people on. Like I keep it to myself. So if I see something, I'll make a mental note of it. If someone on the tour later says, hey, I saw something there and it connects, then I'm like, okay, there's something to it.
You've located more locations since you've been here that could potentially be haunted. Go ahead and take a drink. You deserve it. Right? Because
It's
first,
water, just so we are clear.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you
It's
for
water,
that.
yeah.
Because, I mean, we used to think the bridge tender. And then
Yes.
what next? Well, there's
the
a lot of
thing is,
them.
I think the hardest, I said something about this the other day, this event has grown, and most of the things just come to us. But what's very hard to find is someone that's willing to open their business at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and let the general public just walk through it.
And kick out paying customers.
Right. Especially if it's a bar at
Right.
the middle, and they're still, closing up. So we have been lucky this year to actually have 2 locations that are new this year for investigations that we didn't even reach out to. So it's once you develop a relationship with a community, as I have in Oregon City and I think here, people are more willing to share their stories and people are willing to get more involved. And I think Seaside and Astoria has just embraced this event. So we have Beach Books, which is a bookstore here in Seaside, just across the river right there, that is opened up their business tonight and tomorrow for investigations. It looks like a brand new, great bookstore, but it's sitting in a building and in a block that has incredible history. And so things with, books flying off the shelves, things like that. But we haven't had a lot of experiences there ourselves. We've been going by staff and conversations with them. So tonight we'll see, what happens there and see if we get anything.
One of those locations, well, actually, both of them, the Bridge Tender and Beach Books, are kind of right by that body of water that runs right through the downtown area.
Yeah, so you have Bridge Tender on one side of the river. You have the Beach Books on the other side of the river, and just a block from there you have Starry Night Inn. So those are the 3 locations. The Times Theater, just another couple blocks down the street. That one's sold out. We only do that investigation one night. And then the other new location, which is our first location as the Ghost Conference in Astoria, is the Elks Lodge in Astoria. And I was lucky enough to tour that myself, because we even had scheduled this before I toured the building myself. So I went to Astoria. I was here in town last weekend doing some promo, and I got a VIP tour of the Elks Lodge. They are super excited to have us there in Ghostoria Paranormal Investigations. That building is amazing, and I know it's very active. It may be one of the more active investigation sites we've had, and so we're doing like 6 investigations there, I think.
And you're bringing in a psychic medium.
Oh, well, yeah, and she's going to be a guest, Sarah Lemos, who will be on. She's here all weekend. She's doing. She was at our gallery reading last year. She's going to be. Those 2 investigations sold out, so she's going to be doing a special investigation there. I'm excited to see what experience. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to drive to Astoria in the midst of all these other events. I think I'll probably try to do that tomorrow night at the 1:30 in the morning, 2 morning.
Well, hopefully somebody gets you a ride so you can nap on the way there and the way back.
That's not going to happen because all the people that I know that help me with this event are in bed by 10, and I'm still going till 4 in the morning. So.
Well, Rocky, we appreciate everything you do, and you put on an amazing conference, and you've invited us to us for many years, and we haven't forgot how generous you've been over the years, and everybody who's sitting in this room owes you quite a bit.
Well, I thank you for being here. I mean, this is a great opportunity to have you and to interview. It's. I always like to have a bunch of photographs at the end of the weekend because I don't have time to take them. And then having this, I always listen to the radio shows that happen here over the weekend on my drive home on Sunday night or Monday morning. So I look forward to listening to it, and it keeps a great record over the years of what has happened at this event. So thank you so much for everything.
Rocky Smith will be back at the Oregon Ghost Conference on Into the Parabnormal.
haunted.
Are there any spirits here that would like to talk?
Blurring the lines between reality and the unknown. You're riding into the Parabnormal.
And we're here from the Oregon Ghost Conference in Seaside. I'm Jeremy Scott. Somewhere between the paranormal and the abnormal, we're joined by Pete Kruger, Jennifer Ward, Western Idaho Paranormal. Where's Western Idaho Paranormal located?
We're actually located in the Treasure Valley in Idaho. So our main hub is in Boise, Idaho.
Right?
Yeah.
So Caldwell, Nampa.
Yeah. Caldwell, Nampa, what else?
Basically from
Everything.
Nampa through Rupert,
Yeah, Rupert.
almost like Twin Falls.
Yeah.
So you guys investigate
Everything.
haunted locations?
Yeah.
Regularly.
Regularly. Yep.
And it's just like watching it on TV, right?
No.
No, it's not as cool.
How is it not like on TV?
Well, it's a lot more boring.
Yeah, it really is. You stare in the dark and talk to walls and hope they talk back.
Well, and then you listen to hours upon hours
Yeah.
of audio, and you're hoping to get a yes.
Or
Something.
Something. And video, hopefully, why is there a shadow there that wasn't there before?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
You know, but that's kind of holy grail level stuff.
Yeah.
So how often are you experiencing this, like, in the moment versus replaying stuff after the fact and discovering it?
I'd say normally we probably get maybe one good thing. Maybe one good thing per investigation, but that's a rare occurrence.
And like live, like, oh my God, I just saw it with my eyes. I just heard it with my ears. 1 in 100, if
Yeah.
you're lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, I can count the number.
Yet the
of,
perception is that these are happening all the time.
it's.
Sadly.
I wish it were.
It's a perception, and that's
Yeah.
it. It's not
Yeah.
reality. It's right there. We have I-84, which goes out. You cross over. I think it's the Snake River that kind of runs between Oregon
Yeah,
and
it's a snake.
Washington.
Yep.
I mean, we were talking with Rocky about how it's probably a conductor, maybe, of some of this activity, but there is literally paranormal activity on both sides of the river.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, out in the middle of the desert as well.
Yep. Definitely out in the middle of the desert.
What kinds of stuff has happened out in the desert?
Well, one of the places that we like to investigate is in a town called Gooding, Idaho.
yep.
And Gooding, Idaho is about as sagebrush-ridden a place as you can ever imagine. It is dirt, farmers' fields, and sagebrush. And the old tuberculosis hospital is out there, and that place is hopping. It's hopping every time we go.
I've heard that about a couple of locations where there used to be tuberculosis hospitals, is that there's just something that sticks around.
Maybe. I mean, in this case, it's a little bit of everything because it's right now it's a hotel, like a bed and breakfast, and sans breakfast. But with that, no, it's just more. It's not even so much history. It's the best thing we ever got. The owner of the building, who's now thinks it was one of her children that had passed.
Yeah. We got one of the best evidence ever, and we didn't even catch it until, months later when we finally were able to go through everything, and we're sitting there, and one of our investigators late at night was listening, and she goes, you got to listen now. And she's, like, pinging everybody to finally listen.
So can you have, like, real-time communications with these spirits? Are there certain technologies that you have to have in order to make that happen?
You can. So one of our really good friends, he does a thing called live replay. So he will ask a series of questions, and then he'll stop, he'll step out, and he'll re-listen to everything. Or you can do the spirit box, but the spirit box is so finicky because you don't know if it's the radio playing or if it's an actual spirit trying to communicate.
You agree with that, Pete?
I would agree, yeah. It's really, like I said before, live stuff. This happened now. Or even this happened within, and I caught it within a minute or two. It's rare, simply because what you do end up hearing or catching, the first thing your brain is going to do is say, no, that wasn't anything. That was a bug that I saw out of the corner of my eye. What I heard was, the neighbor kid. I mean, I'm infamous on our team for that, just throwing it out. But in some cases you just can't throw it out, and that's where that time invested, this specific instance, what led up to it, what was behind it, and then eventually you just can't throw it out anymore, and then it's real.
Are there clear EVPs that you've recorded throughout the years, and what are they saying to you?
Oh yeah, our biggest one is the one that we were just talking about in Gooding,
Yep.
and you can hear it clear as day. And we always don't tell people right away what it's saying, and we just let it play. And we're like, what do you hear? What do you think you hear? And it's the same thing across the board. It's always high data. And that's it. It's a very simple but so clear. And what's the wild part is when you look at our cameras, it's 11:30 at night. There's no one in the building. You hear him. He's leaving. You can hear his big footsteps creaking as he opens up the door. And you hear, like, bye, data. And it's like a chill down your spine when you hear it. It is so crystal clear, and that's one of the main ones that we've had.
Well, speaking of that, if you look right over there, you see that kid in the Oregon Coast jacket? Earlier in the day, we had done a baby daddy ghost hunt together. And I'm still kicking myself in the rear end about it because after we got done, I just deleted everything. I'm just letting him play with the equipment. He left at 7 o'clock at night. Buy data happened at about 11:30.
Wow. Wow.
In fact, with the person who heard it first, when she's sending off stuff, she was asking if he was still on prem. And I'm like, no, he left like at 7. And she replied back, are you sure? I'm like, pretty sure I watched him go. But yeah, that's my son right there. And that's, I think, what led him to the buy data hit.
So what kinds of equipment do you use, and how does that help you capture different aspects of the paranormal?
What don't we use?
We use an
Hopefully
entire
an app.
we
don't use no apps.
An entire back end of a pickup truck. Actually, it's an electric pickup truck, so it has a frunk too, completely full to the gills to
Yep.
get it here.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Yep.
9 times out of 10, we're still we still miss stuff that we've left behind by accident.
Yeah,
And-
we've lost any number of pieces of equipment
Oh,
simply
yeah.
because we think we got it all. Oh, we left an audio recorder 200 miles away. Oops.
Yep.
So have you found like what works, what doesn't work?
Audio recorders, I would argue, are for bang for the buck. If you want to spend money on this kind of stuff, buy
Yeah.
a decent audio recorder. After that, buy a decent camera. Frankly, if you're going to buy an audio recorder, buy a Sony, buy a Tascam or a Zoom. Great
Yeah.
equipment. If you want to buy a video camera, buy a Sony. If you want to go a little bit further off the deep end, buy a security system. We have one.
Yeah.
That actually has multiple cameras. If you want to go further off the deep end than that, I mean, sky's the limit. But don't spend tons of money on ghost doodads. Don't do that.
You can easily just record with your phone, and as something as simple as an audio recorder next to your phone.
Sure.
As long as you have something and you're willing to spend the time in a quiet room with some good headphones, you can probably get anything.
Would you say that there are some things that can get in the way of a good recording?
People on
Yeah.
motorcycles,
Drunk people,
construction,
creaky
speakers,
floors.
guys
Speakers
that are
calling out
like
orders
counting-
overhead.
Yep, but
Yep.
that would not be good. Drunk teenagers.
Yep.
Drunk people in general. Frankly, it's
The town knowing you're at the
So
location.
never bring
Oh,
it-
yes, that's happened before.
Never bring a drunk on a ghost investigation.
As long as they're a quiet, happy drunk, sure, they're
Sure.
fine. It's when they're a noisy, stupid drunk, then they're
Oh,
no
man.
longer entertaining, and you're not going to catch a ghost.
All right, tell us about your group.
So we are Western Idaho Paranormal. We were established in 2018. We are a nonprofit, and we kind of go everywhere. We go to Oregon, we go to Washington, we go all over Idaho. We went to Montana recently.
Yep.
That was really fun. We help out families who have paranormal phenomenon, and then we do fun events like this to raise more awareness.
Do you have a website?
Yeah, it's widpara.com, widpara.com.
All right, fantastic. That is Pete Kruger and Jennifer Ward. They are with Western Idaho Paranormal. Time went by so quickly,
I
didn't
know. It really did.
it? Here from the Oregon Ghost Conference. We'll be right back.
Thanks.
Into the Parabnormal.
from Seaside, Oregon. It is the Oregon Ghost Conference, and I'm Jeremy Scott. Into the Parabnormal, continuing. You know, I think I maybe have told this story once or twice on the air, but I think our next guest will appreciate it. You know, before I got into radio, I thought I wanted to be a magician. And actually, at first, I thought I wanted to be a circus clown. But all I wanted to do was magic tricks. That doesn't make a very good clown. Like, I didn't want to learn how to do the juggling and the balancing and all that stuff, so I started doing magic tricks. And I did, you know, the classic cups and balls and the handkerchiefs and the all the doodads that you can imagine a magician would carry with him. Some of them you probably still carry with you. What do we call it? Well, there's the dove pan and there's the change bag and all this stuff. But I quickly realized I didn't have the skills from a showman's perspective. So I chose another line of work, and this is the line of work.
So you went into radio.
I went into radio. And it's turned out to be much better for me. But you, Professor DR Schreiber, are actually a stage magician? Are you an illusionist? Are you a prestidigitator? Are you all of the above?
A conjurer.
A conjurer. That's more of an old school term.
Exactly.
Goes back to when?
So my magic that I do is mostly 18th and 19th century style magic. And in that time period, the magicians changed their name to conjurer because magician had an odious definition at that point. Actually, there's a definition in the 1700s dictionary that calls magicians odious, something to be avoided. And so that's one of the reasons why they started to call themselves conjurers for a short period of time. By the time we get back to the 19th century, they're back to magician. So.
And what kinds of tricks were they doing during those time periods?
That was this was in the middle of the Enlightenment period. So science was very big, and a lot of the magic was directly connected to science. And so they would use science as their explanation of how they produced the standard tricks. A lot of it was based on some of the stuff you can't do nowadays because they would be doing tricks with mercury and lead and things we don't want to put in our mouths anymore.
But we didn't know any
But they
different.
didn't know that back then. So those types of things, as well as simple things, as simple as introducing, I realized that, electricity was brand new to them. Just introducing the audience to the idea of electricity, showing them electric spark would have been simple enough to be magic to them.
And there's a lot of science that looks like magic, right?
Absolutely. Well, especially when, 300 years ago, they thought that, when Benjamin Franklin was able to touch lightning, in air quotes, that was magic to them.
Yeah.
And to nowadays, we think, oh, that's just static electricity. To them, it would have been right on that edge of magic. But in that time period, they also need to be really careful because the church was still kind of wanting to burn witches at the stake. It was really close to that time period, but as long as they said, no, this is a scientific discovery and not witchcraft, the church left them alone. And so that was one reason to be able to say that.
Is there a crossover between what you do and the paranormal world?
Oh, yes. A long history of it, actually. Even so much so that the very first magic book that was ever written with magic instruction book was The Discovery of Witchcraft. Back in the 16th century. It was an expose on basically how to save witches from being burned at the stake by teaching the public how they did their magic, that it was actually an illusion, it was a trick. Mm-hmm. But then as we move forward in time, unfortunately, a lot of the 20th century and 19th century interaction was more debunking a lot of the paranormal, and this was a time when spiritualists were very prevalent, and a lot of the magicians would run into a spiritualist at the magic store buying ectoplasm. And they would realize that this was a con, this was a trick. And so sometimes the magicians would get, especially Harry Houdini, he was a big anti-spiritualist, only because he actually wanted to make contact. And he went to over 100 spiritualists and mediums, and they were never able to make contact with his mother. And so that led him to expose the ones who were frauds and who were taking money. A lot of the times it was because they would take money from people and say, "Oh, Grandpa told me to give you give me $10,000," and it was a con. It was a trick. It was a playing on their word. So that's where a lot of that old history is. Obviously, modern, even to this day, the Society of American Magicians has a whole paranormal division that goes in and tries to reveal the con or the trick behind some of the different things that are going on. Obviously, some we can't explain, and that just stands. But when there is a plain magic trick, when we know they're trying to bend a spoon with their mind, we know how to do that as magicians. And so we just say this could be a way to do it.
Who were some of the famous conjurers of those days?
Well, if we go back to the 18th century, which I go around mostly, the biggest guy at the time was a guy named Giuseppe Panetti. Panetti has been lost to history, but he was the inspiration for a Victorian magician by the name of Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin. And Houdin was actually the namesake for Harry Houdini. So kind of that whole line there goes all the way up. But Harry Houdini took Robert Houdin's last name and added a letter I to it to make himself Houdini or Houdani. But Houdini is what Harry Houdini called himself.
Houdini died because he dared someone to punch him?
Oh, it was a burst appendix. It wasn't nearly as dramatic. But it depends on what you're talking about. If you talk the movie, he died in the water torture chamber. But that's not actually how he died. But Houdini died from a burst appendix because he was a strongman. He was a circus guy to start. And he was injured. He felt himself with the injury, with the appendicitis. But then he did take a hit, and that hurt really bad. And he actually thought that broke a rib. So he didn't go to the doctor. He didn't go to the hospital because he thought he had a broken rib. And of course, it wasn't a broken rib. It was appendicitis. The appendix burst. And then a few weeks later, he died from the appendicitis. So probably not so much the impact. It was kind of a combination of that impact, that broken rib might have been a weird pain issue. But yeah, he probably should have gone to the doctor. He would have been fine if he had gone to the doctor when he first felt the pain.
Right. What happens at the Spirit Theater?
So Spirits Theater, we're going to be doing a show tonight. Myself and Seth Howard, another magician up in Astoria. We are going to be doing a look back at the olden days of magic and spiritualism. My portion that I'll be doing is a look at the old-fashioned, the way magic was done 200 years ago, which is very different than modern audiences. We'll look at a lot of different effects, magic. It'll basically be, a fun, mature adult magic show. And then Seth is going to take it a little bit darker. He's going to do a recreation of a Victorian-era seance, which is very different than our modern seances. Of course, their seances were usually done completely in dark. So a whole different category, but Seth is going to reveal and demonstrate some of the ways that magicians and spiritualists of that era performed their seances.
Are you going to actually evoke the spirits of magicians?
No, not at all. No, we're going to more reveal the trickery that magicians have used for centuries to make it look like we have. Because even all the way up into the modern ages, magicians had things called ghost shows where they would produce spirits and ghosts, and that actually dates all the way back to the very first Phantasmagoria, which was in the 1800s, early 1790s, which was also a ghost show. It was basically again, magicians pretending to create spirits using our magic tricks.
So are you hoping that some spirits will come alive? Is that the goal?
Hopefully not, because we're not actually doing we're doing trickery. We're complete frauds. We are fraudulent, and we are magicians. Actually, we're not fraudulent. I like to say that magicians, we're the only honest people out there, because we tell you we're going to trick you.
And then we do. And if you're a good showman, we don't know the difference.
Exactly. And so that's what we're trying to do. And that's really what we're doing, is giving an example of how magicians have done it over the centuries and how magic can be done.
Because this used to be created as an illusion on the stage before, the ghost shows.
Exactly. Yeah. It's been that way. And ghost shows have been around for a long time, and they're still popular to this day. They still exist. We still do seance. We do magic seances where it looks like we're evoking the spirits, but we're not. Yeah. And most magicians will tell you, no, this is just for fun. It's for there are no spirits involved. Now we don't know. It might be, but we know the tricks when we make a bell ring or a tambourine make noise or something move across the table. We're using our trickery, but we blame it on the spirits.
That's what you would call a trick of the trade.
Yes, a trick of the trade.
Something you've practiced your whole life for in order to pull off in front of a...
And it takes 45 minutes to set up and it for a 30-second effect. Yes, exactly.
Professor DR Schreiber, it was good to have you here on
Pleasure
the program.
Pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. We will continue our show from the Oregon Ghost Conference, friends, into the next hour. So stick with us. Somewhere between the paranormal and the abnormal. I'm Jeremy Scott.
Miss a show? Into the Paranormal is free on all the top podcast apps.
There's a parallel universe, a veil that separates us from all we perceive. True reality. Open the gate, let the truth be known. It's more than meets the eye. We're not alone. Into the paranormal. Into the paranormal. Into the paranormal. Crossover.
Into the Paranormal with Jeremy Scott. Somewhere between the paranormal and abnormal.
Taking place in the haunted happenings of Seaside this weekend. I'm Jeremy Scott, Into the Paranormal continuing. We're joined by Northwest Paranormal. We have Austin Guthrie, Matthew Rolstad, I believe that's correct, Rachel Ames. Welcome to the program. How are all of you?
Good. Thanks for having us, Jeremy.
Awesome. Yes, thank you.
From the yeah, she's the one furthest away because we only have 3 microphones, so we're sharing. We're getting intimate here. I mean, why not at the Ghost Conference? You guys get intimate with ghosts almost every weekend, right?
We try. Definitely try.
I was asking them before we went on the air. From what particular part of the Northwest are you guys from?
Marysville, Washington, so just north of Seattle, about 30 minutes.
All right. So, Matthew, did you have a paranormal experience as a kid? What got you into this?
You know, I never had a paranormal experience growing up. I think it was more of like the TV shows, social media, everything on there. I saw it and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to look for ghosts myself. It wasn't until actually our first investigation when we all got together as a group is when I had my first paranormal experience. So at that point, as soon as I did my first paranormal investigation, I was like, okay, this is something I could do for the long term.
So, Austin, how'd you run into these two?
We all actually worked together in the same office, and we sat one day and said, hey, did you see the new Ghost Hunters or something? And we're like, why don't we just go do it?
But you didn't have ghosts running through the office, did you?
No, not yet.
Did you bring some in with you?
Probably, definitely.
From one of these haunted locations?
Mostly from Matt's inexperience.
So we're blaming it on Matt.
Yeah, but it sounds about right. I still work in that office, and there's definitely some weird things that happen.
So has it calmed down a bit, or was it bad?
Yeah, they come and go. I mean, there's times where I set something down, I leave, I come back, and I'm like, I know I didn't put it there.
So Rachel, what is your role with North by Northwest Paranormal?
I'm also just an investigator, and I do some of the graphic artwork for the thumbnails and design ideas.
Have you ever had a paranormal experience before you joined the team?
Yes. I grew up listening to my dad's experiences, and he'd tell me stories all the time.
Number 27.
Oh, when he was a kid.
Same
with my mom.
What kinds of things were they seeing?
My dad, I can't remember his story super well, but he was at a friend's house, and his friend had fallen back in a chair or something like that, and he saw a figure kind of walk down the hall after that happened. And then my mom said that she saw a hand come through the roof while she was sick, and she swears that
like in
had,
the roof of the
healed
house?
her. Yeah, like she
But there was
laying-
no hole afterwards?
No hole.
Weirdest
no hole,
thing
yeah.
ever, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no one busted through there at all.
What'd you think of
afterwards.
that story when you heard it?
At first it's kind of, it's something that's a little bit magical, kind of hard to believe, but you hear so many things like that in that same vein that I believe her. She swears by it 100%.
Have you found evidence that's made you a believer, or were you a believer when you got into this?
I was a believer when I got into this. Yeah, I had a couple experiences myself when I was a kid, like doors closing at my house and just general weird feelings. So I've always been a believer.
What about you, Austin? Why'd you want to get involved in a team that goes and investigates these locations?
I've always had paranormal experiences, always lived in haunted houses or something like of the sort. So I've always had the experiences. And I guess I wasn't really looking for a group. It just happened to be, we're all friends, we're all work at the same place, and we actually had the same interests. And it kind of started out our first investigation as a joke, like, hey, let's just go have fun, let's take a camera and see what happens. And the moment we all had our first combined experience of a door opening and closing on command, that's where it really sunk in that the group life is the good life.
Everybody has a role or a certain expertise. What would yours be on the team?
I'm definitely the talker. I'm the outreach, for sure, and I'm also the jokester. So,
do you talk to the ghosts?
I do. I wouldn't say I'm a medium. I don't like to say I have like the abilities, so I don't know what I call it, but I definitely have the extra senses, I guess.
But you talk out to them. Do they talk back?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you've captured EVPs?
Yeah, we got EVPs. We got. I've been able to kind of predict when something's going to happen and get like impending, like something's going to or somebody's going to be attacked. I can kind of feel it or sense it. I like you might want to move, and then All
right, Matthew, what would your role be on the team?
I think I've kind of adopted the whole skeptic role of the team. I'm not sensitive to anything at all, so I rely on just equipment. So whenever there's something that does happen, or if somebody kind of senses something, I'm the guy who's kind of like, I need to see it to believe it. So I kind of rely on the equipment wise. I'm there, I'm setting up all the equipment how I like it, and I kind of have things set up, and I ask the questions and kind of rely on more or less the equipment to kind of give me the answers.
Is anyone psychic or clairvoyant or clairaudient or anything like that on the team? Or do you bring those people in from time to time?
I know I am just a brick wall when it comes to that thing. We have had people. We actually just had a investigation with one of our friends, and she is more sensitive to that sort of stuff. And we bring a lot of outside help when it comes to investigations. We always seem to have somebody tag team with us when we do these investigations. So I would say more or less we bring probably people more on the outside.
What about you? What would you say, Rachel, that your role is on the team?
I think Austin and I play off each other pretty well as far as feeling energies in the locations we investigate. But that's pretty much it. I'm just a little bit more sensitive, but I can't feel anything concrete.
Well, sometimes
or,
will you
thoughts.
Validate each other?
Yeah, it's a lot of validation between us.
Or conflicting feelings, and that is very good for investigations as well.
Yeah.
I think it was you, Matthew, you said sometimes you brought in people because certain things may be too much for you to handle. So give us an example of that.
Like this recent one we did was at the Walker Ames house in Port Gamble. Big house, very big house. So when it comes to like those big locations, having somebody come in and kind of help with us do these investigations, a lot of space to cover, a lot of hands to help. So and we like to just kind of share that experience with people who may not necessarily have the kind of like the reach. Kind of bring people into the paranormal field. People who are kind of mildly interested in it, who want to experience paranormal stuff themselves, we'll always bring them with and be like, hey, we have all the equipment, we have the time, we have the location. Feel free to come with us, and we'll kind of share this experience with you guys as well, whether it be just friends or people that reach out to us.
Would you say you've ever come across like dark entities, demonic entities, something where you could just feel bad juju coming off of it and you needed to bring one of those people in?
We haven't actually had to bring anybody in to more or less like cleanse or help kind of like ward or protect, but we have gone to a location and kind of felt, you get like a gut feeling, and you kind of get like something is here and that doesn't want us here, whether it be the responses that we get, like bangs on the wall, or we heard like an audible moan at one point. We went to St. Ignatius, and towards the end of the night, we just kept hearing this constant loud banging. And so we kept trying to locate this banging, and then I can't remember, we asked like, do you want us to leave? And then we heard just an audible moan and continued banging that just kept getting closer and closer to us. So at that point, we were just kind of like, and it was towards the end of our tour, which kind of lined up, but at the end of it, we're just like, yeah, we probably shouldn't be here for much longer.
Have you ever taken anything from a location, I mean, you mentioned maybe to the office, but to your homes or in any other locations?
Well, from investigation locations, no, because I know that's kind of inviting whatever entity there to follow you. But we have had possession of a haunted doll at one point, so I thought to myself, hey, is this doll really haunted? You know, me being a skeptic, like, I want to find out for myself.
All right, we'll pause and come back with North by Northwest Paranormal here at the Oregon Ghost Conference.
Into the Parabnormal.
From the Oregon Ghost Conference, I'm Jeremy Scott. We're here with North by Northwest Paranormal. Your website again is?
nxmp-official.org.
You guys look for team members, or is it just the three of you?
It's just the three of us for right now. We do have assistance from my wife, who's staying right over there every so often. So, but as of right now, 3 or 4 is kind of an easy and manageable, since we all work day jobs. So getting together is sometimes hard enough as it is. So 3 and 4 people together, it makes it just a little easier.
So nights and weekends is when you do your primary investigations?
Yep, pretty much. Usually the weekend that falls with with any of us, and we're always off at nighttime. So it's easy enough just to, hey, after work, get together and do this investigation, then be done by time work starts.
All right, so you guys were talking about different ghosts around the Pacific Northwest. Are these by name, or are these by location?
Well, I would say they're by location. I know a lot of these locations have some of the homeowners or business owners and have documented history of potential names for these people or for these entities. I know when it comes to, like, for example, St. Ignatius, they have Rosie. It was an old assisted living facility, and one of the tenants there was named Rosie, and they have experiences with that entity, and they named her Rosie because that was one of the people who used to live there. And I can't think of any more off the top of my head that really stand out, but I know a lot of the places that are within the Pacific Northwest, they kind of come to naming the entities themselves, whether that is something they got from the entity themselves or it's just a name they decided to name them.
How many named spirits have you come across?
Ooh, named spirits. I would say probably close to 5 that we could maybe pretty closely, accurately say that's exactly who we're talking to. But beyond that, investigating, especially in the paranormal field, even if you have a name or you feel like you know who it is, there's really no way to guarantee that's exactly who you're talking to.
Are there certain reasons that some of this activity happens?
Yeah, it's usually freak accidents, death, horrific crimes, big accidents, train crashes, but a lot of it, especially in the Pacific Northwest, is just residual hauntings, meaning humans over the amount of time have just made the same kind of movements and activity over and over, that same energy just carries for hundreds of years, and also does with the landscape between all the volcanoes, the mountain ranges, and all the subtonic plates. That creates a lot of electromagnetic fields and all that helps contribute to the activity.
Rachel, would you say that there are parts of the Pacific Northwest that we could consider hot spots for paranormal activity? Have you been to any of those locations, investigated any of those?
Yeah. Colfax, the town of Colfax, Washington, seems to be generally very active in a lot of areas in that town. Seattle is notoriously haunted. You hear a lot of locations in Seattle having very intense hauntings. Yeah, a lot of the old logging and mining towns around the state as well, just because of that imprinted energy is a good guarantee for some kind of activity.
Do you each have a story from Colfax? Like of something that happened to you personally up there at the hotel?
I think we all got something from Colfax at this point.
Yeah, I want you to share. I'm trying to see the one that stands out the most to me. I don't know. I'm trying to go for it.
Okay. So we weren't able to catch this on camera, but one of the first times we went to the Colfax or the St. Ignatius Hospital in Colfax, Washington, a previous investigator, myself, and a guest investigator went up to the nuns' quarters on the 6th floor, and we had a very clear, like double EMF conversation with a spirit up there. And by the time we got back downstairs to the 1st floor to just regroup after the preliminary walkthrough, that footage was erased.
Would you say a double EMF?
Yeah, me and the other guest investigator both had an EMF reader. And
So they both were going off simultaneously?
Simultaneously upstairs.
Is that rare?
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be, yeah.
Would you expect, though, if paranormal activity is happening, that it would be going off on all the detectors at the same time, or does it just depend? Are there like, maybe their voices only travel so far, and maybe they're too quiet, so they could get picked up on one but not on another?
Yeah, if you have more than one device going off in an investigation, especially if they're different, so if you have like an audio device going off and then an EMF detector, that right there is great, because two different pieces of technology failing at the same time is statistically almost near impossible. So if you get two of the same devices that are going off simultaneously or different, like directed, like if you have them next to each other and one goes off and the other doesn't, that's a very good sign that you're actually interacting with an intelligent entity.
Yeah, we were about a foot or two apart upstairs, and it wasn't like a consistent reading. They were just blips of readings in sync with yes or no answers.
What kinds of electronic interference have you experienced?
Any sort of like camera that has like an external microphone on it. Whenever we experience like high EMF readings in these places, a good example is Devil's Tower. That was in Concrete, Washington. I remember this one particular moment where the EMF device was spiking, and as I was reviewing the footage, the audio on the camera started going out too. It was like a very loud static, and as soon as that EMF started kind of going down, like taming down, the audio would restore to normal. And then we've had memory cards on cameras corrupting, and just all the footage on it is just gone. Kind of the example with this one too, and it's not, Mirkwood, it happened there. St. Ignatius, it happened. We did a whole session in one of the rooms in St. Ignatius, came back to review the footage, and we got the error messages said that that video footage was corrupted.
You have a saying on your website, all a skeptic is someone who hasn't had an experience yet. So were you all once skeptics? Is that no longer the case? Go ahead, Austin.
I don't think I've ever been a skeptic. I've always been in the investigative mind, trying to debunk what I can and see what's left over, like any good investigator should. So I've never been a skeptic, but I've always been the optimistic of being able to explain something. And that's what I hope to do, is if I can find a reasonable explanation, then I'm kosher with that result. And if I can't, then that gives me more to strive to look for.
Austin, sounds like you are part skeptic, even today.
Yeah, I would say I'm skeptic when it comes to like evidence that we've gathered and evidence that I see maybe online from like social media, only because I'm trying to first look for something that's going to make that go off, whether it be like an electrical outlet or anything like that. But if I narrow down my investigation and I say there's nothing around me that's going to make this device go off, then I have to say it's something paranormal.
And we're going to give Rachel the final word.
I don't think I've ever really considered myself a skeptic. I've always been a pretty firm believer that there's something, but I have the mindset of I need to make sure that either I'm not seeing things, it's not like a trick of the light, it's not something else like a random noise in the distance that might have sounded like a voice. Sure. That is being captured before I can be like, okay, well, I can't explain that. That's pretty solid. So.
Well, we appreciate you all so much for joining us here at the Oregon Ghost Conference. They are North by Northwest Paranormal. Austin, Matthew, and Rachel, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll have more of our live broadcast from Seaside, Oregon, right after this.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Appreciate it.
maybe what we're experiencing actually could be ghosts.
Ghosts don't have voices or vocal cords, so what they have to do is they have to transmit their thoughts on sounds.
There's also some stories where they can like transform into other things. They can shapeshift.
They are here with us all the time, when we know it, when we don't know it.
Throughout my life, I've had spirits that have saved me from all sorts of bizarre things.
I've had a lot of validation from the other side.
I've personally witnessed full-bodied apparitions, footsteps, voices. I've been slapped on the rear end a few times.
The truth is far stranger than we'd like to believe. You're headed somewhere between the paranormal and abnormal. Into the Parabnormal.
I'll have to catch Pete Orbea and tell him what sound clip I picked out of him from last year. Everybody who is a guest on the show becomes a sound bite for the next show, and that's the one I picked from him. Billy, you've ever been touched on the rear end with the Oregon Paranormal Society?
I have not.
Thank goodness, right?
Right.
Been touched in other places?
I've had my shirt tugged on, pants grabbed, stuff like that, but not a full-on touch like that.
So tell us about the Oregon Paranormal Society. When did you form?
I formed in 2008 after parents showed me too many horror movies and thought it'd be cool to see what it would be like, in person, going to cemeteries and stuff like that.
Is it cool?
I find it fun.
Yeah.
Just as, even as just a history standpoint, just, especially when we go to cemeteries, just walking around the graves and stuff, seeing, this was 100 years ago, like maybe a first settler, stuff like that. Just to see the history lined out is really cool.
Do you feel anything different when you're walking through, say, a cemetery?
It just kind of depends. It's one of those things that some cemeteries we found to be extremely active, then other ones are quiet and peaceful. So it just kind of all depends.
And it probably depends on maybe the time of day or the time of night or the time of year, or...
We kind of find that it's most quiet at night just because there's not a lot of, distractions from people in the daytime, less ambient noise. So, but it just kind of depends on what they're feeling. Like I said, if they want to be around, they can, but if not, they're not our circus animal to perform for us.
Yeah. Some people think they can sometimes act on command, and it's not necessarily the case.
That's the rare occasion.
Right. But there has been some activity. Have you recorded any of these on EVPs, like in cemeteries? Or if not, maybe other locations?
In other locations. One of my very first Class A EVPs, I would call it, was I was doing an investigation at a building at OSU in Corvallis, and it's the music building. And there was this rumor that a woman had fallen down the stairs and died, broke her neck. I was there with one of my investigators and nobody else in the building, and we got a Class A EVP of a woman saying no, like this high-pitched no type of thing. And we didn't hear it at the time, and it wasn't until we got back to the recording and heard it. It was like, wow, this is like out of nowhere.
Were you able to find if somebody actually did fall
There
there?
actually was a reported case of a woman that she tripped on the longness of her dress and she fell down the stairs.
So sometimes this is verifiable through history, but sometimes it's not.
Exactly. Sometimes there's a lot of hearsay about it.
How many times do you get names of spirits?
Not a lot. We get a lot of information as far as, communication, but names, it's kind of hard to get names out of them. They don't like being forthright with their names.
Yeah. One of the new locations being investigated this year here at the Ghost Conference is Beach Books.
That's correct,
Which
yes.
is in the Gilbert block, built in 1914.
Yes. It is one of the oldest standing buildings from Seaside back in the day.
Do you know anything about ghosts who may reside there?
We actually talked to one of the store owners and stuff, and no names directly, but they do have claims of books coming off of shelves and even phantom perfume sprays from like a woman.
Interesting. So what is the hope? Is that something like that happens?
Either something like that happens, or just something to either, some sort of experience happens, whether it's, noises, stuff like that. Just, try to verify, what's actually happening.
So what can be some of the other clues that paranormal activity is happening? And they can be subtle, right?
Oh, they can be subtle as we use something called an EMF meter, which is, it registers electromagnetic fields, and even, after doing a baseline in a building, even blips on that could be something,
Is there a chance that some of these older buildings here in Seaside, but I mean really anywhere, have a chance to be haunted?
There's a chance that even new developments could be haunted. Just kind of.
And that's because something was there before, and now maybe with the construction we've disturbed those spirits.
Exactly.
And so what would be one of those cases that you're aware of where construction has really sent things south?
I've heard rumors in Salem, Oregon, at the old Fairview Training Center. That whole place was demolished and now is a community and school that they put over the top of that property. And that property has a very, very dark history.
Yeah, that was actually in a book that I was reading that I just finished. What was the history of that location again?
It was basically a place where anybody deemed with any sort of mental illness, whether it was or not, I mean, someone could just have a headache, was dropped off and basically abandoned there.
Interesting. And so some of those people died there?
Lots of people died there.
And then the building was bulldozed or whatever, and
now housing community, yeah.
Housing community.
Yep.
So there could be multiple people who are coming in contact with.
Definitely. Oh, it's a whole new subdivision. You wouldn't even know that Fairview was even there if you didn't know it was there.
Interesting. So what are the pick some of the other locations around the area that that you've gone into that something happened during an investigation?
We frequent Lafayette Pioneer Cemetery in Lafayette, which is supposedly haunted by a witch or gypsy. On multiple occasions in there, you'll have, I call it weather on the outside, where it's windy, stuff like that. But once you cross the threshold in the cemetery, it's like a fishbowl. Everything just stops. It goes still and silent. Mm-hmm. We've also had smells where we've had the smell of marijuana in there when there's nobody that's smoking it, and we've even a couple times ran into smells of sulfur.
Yeah, how many times do you smell pot on an investigation? Because I mean, we're in a legal state.
Not usually very many. So when we smelled something like that, that was like kind of like weird. It's like, well, was it maybe a skunk or? But we, cased the area and there was nobody around.
What other tobacco smoke too?
We have had at a personal residence smell of tobacco and even smell like wet dog.
Yeah. Oh, that's all. But you were saying the perfume.
Yeah.
So what other smells, I guess, or is that about sum it up?
That's about sums it up.
Yeah. In Salem, what's the story with the historic Grand Theater and Event Center? Have you done an investigation there?
We've done multiple investigations there, mostly in the basement, just because the rest of the building is always booked with other events. But it was built by the Freemasons originally, and we've encountered a very negative male figure in the basement that doesn't like women, sexually harasses women, and have actually had claims from women on the tours actually get their clothes touched and pulled on and even touched.
Are there certain parts of buildings or homes or locations in general that are more active than others?
I'm not usually.
So it's not the bathroom?
No, it's not.
People tend to have a lot of these experiences in the bathroom. That's maybe because they're spending a lot of time there.
Either that or they always say that water is a conduit as well, so it might be bringing the energy through flowing water.
Right.
For the spirits.
Bedrooms as well, but also basements and attics.
They're always just the creepy places.
Right.
So it kind of gets...
if you were a ghost, you would probably hang out in one of those locations.
Oh, yeah, because it's nice and dark, and like I said, they feed on the fear.
Yeah, right. The Oregon Paranormal Society, what's your website?
The OregonParanormalSociety.com.
And folks can contact you if they have any paranormal activity around...
Any paranormal activity, yep.
The Oregon area?
Oregon... up into Washington, Idaho, just kind of anywhere in the Pacific Northwest.
And you have a team of individuals that you bring in?
We sure do.
All right. There he is, Billy Walker with the Oregon Paranormal Society from the Oregon Ghost Conference in Seaside. I'm Jeremy Scott.
Into the Parabnormal.
From the Oregon Ghost Conference in Seaside, I'm Jeremy Scott on this Friday night. Here all weekend, OregonGhostConference.com. If you're planning to come on out, you got another couple of days to do so. We'll be here broadcasting live again on Saturday. Some of those we'll hear on the radio broadcast on Monday night. But either way, we just appreciate you being with us year after year here from the Ghost Conference. It's always great to talk with some wonderful people, some of them even for the first time. Stephanie Stephan with us, and welcome to the program. How are you?
Thank you, Jeremy. I'm happy to be here. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm wonderful. It's always great to come to the conference and talk to folks about spirits and ghosts and paranormal activity. So I understand you have an expertise in communicating with the spirits of pets.
Yes, I actually started as a Reiki healer, and I focus mostly on doing animal healing for the animals in my house, but also I was a dog sitter for 10 years on the side, and volunteering in sanctuaries. So I really did lots of healing for all kinds of different animals, not just pets. And as a result of that, something opened up and the communication started flowing. It was not intentional at the beginning. I wasn't planning on, oh, hey, I'm going to talk to my pet and what is up with you today? It was nothing like that. It was more of, I'm doing a healing session, and then images started flowing, and then I understood that there was a message that was being sent, and I was meant to listen to that message so that I could take action and help them out in whatever they needed in the moment. So that's how it started.
This was someone else's pet appearing to you?
And in sanctuaries. So it was first my dog, Spiky. He was the first one. And then after that, in sanctuaries. And then I set out on a mission to go and help out as many as I possibly could and figure out, okay, what do you need that you need to express that you have not been understood yet? And perhaps I can be your voice. And that's how it continued.
I mean, they're always trying to get our attention. We love our pets, but their timing is just off.
Yes.
You know, they're trying to get our attention when we're sleeping, and then when we're awake, they're sleeping. It's just a very, very odd thing. So why would it be any different in the afterlife that they might not try to get our attention? We would expect that if we were close to our pets, which all of us are, that they may try to appear to us.
Yeah, the good thing about the animals, different than humans, is they are not so stuck in their thoughts or in their mind or in their traumas or in their past. When they come, they're coming to be with us. So the message is usually very simple. It's just they want to make sure that we are okay and that we are able to handle the grief process as gracefully as possible. They don't come with unfinished business like humans do. It's different. And I think it's commendable that they are transitioning into a beautiful place of pure bliss, and still they have this bond with us, and they want to come back and let us know they are okay, but they want to make sure that we are okay. I just had a couple of friends who had their dogs transition just in the last couple of weeks, and another friend 3 weeks ago, and I helped them go through the process of grieving by focusing on the celebration of life, so that by the time the pet actually does transition, they don't have to stay behind to help the human.
So how are pet spirits different than human spirits? Because humans, you know, when we pass, we may try to come back and either haunt our loved ones or reach out to them, maybe help them through the grieving process. Some ghosts obviously feel like they're tied to locations. They don't want to move on. Do animals have those same attachments?
Yes, they do have an attachment to people, but mostly if they had a traumatic experience at their passing, there might be some residual that happened at the time of their passing. But because they are in their hearts, and they're not in their heads, they're not constantly rethinking and brooding over their death, they actually do transition with a lot more ease than humans do. That is the big difference between the spirit of the animals and the spirit of humans.
So they may have a different reason to come back than human
It's usually
spirits.
us. Yeah, it's usually us, and they come to help us.
I mean, and we would expect that because usually when we're not feeling well, our pets are there to comfort us.
Mm-hmm.
They're one of the first people when we're having a bad day.
Yes.
They seem to know it, and so from the other side, they can comfort us just the same.
Absolutely, yes, and it is beautiful. They are the best teachers of love, and I say in my classes that angels do not need to have wings and look like a person. Animals are furry and scaly and have feathers. They come here to open up our hearts and to help us be better human beings so that we can actually live fully with an open heart and not shut down and block ourselves from experiencing life. That's their main goal, at least the ones that are in our house, the ones that we have as animal companions. But you know what is interesting about animals is that they can also be here exclusively to help other animals.
Oh, so not just helping us, but helping others,
Yes.
living
Other species. Yes.
living animals.
Correct. So some animals come to help other animals, and that is a mission that we as a human species, we cannot even understand because we're always so caught up with ourselves, right? But animals are that special, yes.
So are they on a spiritual mission of sorts?
Yeah, cats, for example, because I know that many of the listeners probably have cats in their house.
Two of them right here.
There you go.
We're away from them this weekend. We miss them so much.
You can send a mental picture to your cats and let them know how many moons are you going to be away from them so that they understand the concept of time, that it's going to be one
You
day.
do this before you leave town?
Oh, you can do it right now.
So tonight,
Yeah, like
2 moons.
Yeah, think of your animal. Think that you're holding them lovingly, that you're just having time with them, and then in that moment, just send a mental picture so that they have the understanding of the period of time you're going to be away, because they don't know that when you're going to be back, and so that way they will understand. But the spiritual mission of the cats is specifically to be healers. They are energy healers. So pay attention to where your cat is connecting with your body. If your cat is on your leg is the one that needs healing. If it's connecting with your stomach needs healing. If it's connecting on your chest, your heart needs healing. They are healers, and their frequency is constantly detoxing lower vibrations in the house. That is their spiritual mission. So when they are sleeping, they are not lazy. They are not lazy animals. They are actually recovering from all of the energetic healing that they are doing constantly in the house. If somebody visits your house and they're angry, they clear that anger out of the environment in your house so that energy of anger doesn't stay. If somebody comes in sad, they will also clear that sadness in the energy on the house so that sadness doesn't sink into the structure of the house. They're constantly detoxing and healing. So that's their spiritual mission.
So it sounds like we can learn a lot from our pets.
Absolutely.
Dead and alive.
The book that I wrote is called The Path to Unconditional Love, the wisdom of the animals to live a heart-centered life. Because when I started communicating with the animals, I realized that they need to say more than just, I need this food instead of this other food. They actually want us to have a happier life, and they have a lot of wisdom to share. It's incredible. They are in a different dimension than we are spiritually. They have a lot more to share. And if we can learn from them and then be present, be more grateful, be in the moment, not caught up in our heads all the time, our entire immune system will be so much healthier. We will be healthier individuals. And mentally, if we just allow them to teach us to love, mentally we will feel so much better as well.
What has it meant to you? What has it meant to those that you've communicated for, that they've had this opportunity to interact with their deceased pets?
I feel really honored, is my feeling. When I work with the animals, it's not me telling them, okay, tell me everything you need to say. It's more of, I am here to be of service. I am honored to be in your presence. And if I can be a conduit of communication, please use me. That's how I approach them.
Stephanie, how does the audience contact you?
I have a podcast that is called purrs, barks, and tweets with love because it's the language of the animals. And I have all my information listed in the notes of the podcast. And also, I'll be this weekend at Beach Books here in Seaside doing a book reading at 2 o'clock.
Fantastic. Stephanie, good to talk with you here from the Ghost Conference. And that's all the time, friends, we have until we talk to you next time from the 14th Annual Oregon Ghost Conference in Seaside. I'm Jeremy Scott. Good night, and God bless.